Some fates twist in the dark shadows of despair. Clara was about to be sold. The air was thick, oppressive, filled with the acrid stench of sweat and desperation. A bustling crowd surrounded her, eyes glinting with both hunger and malice. She stood there, chained, heart racing with terror and despair, acutely aware of the cold metal biting into her skin. Harsh reminders of her worth stripped away. At just 21, her life had been swallowed by burdens, each heavier than the last. All she longed for was freedom, yet the chains binding her heart and soul felt unbreakable. The midday sun shone harshly above, casting a glaring light over the cobblestone marketplace. Clara could see the edges of her world sharper now, the tension thickening in the air with every passing second. Desperation flared in her chest as she glanced around, her breath quickening. Faces blurred into a chaotic tapestry of greed, their intentions a sinister web around her. Could today be her last? She felt suffocated, the weight of despair clawing at her throat, choking the flicker of hope that lingered within. Would she be traded like livestock, her fate decided by the highest bidder? Every thud of her heart echoed with memories of warmth, the laughter of her childhood, the faces of family long lost to the dark pits of debt and despair. Only days ago, she had seen her parents, their expressions filled with hopelessness as creditors closed in like wolves. Her father had shouted, her mother weeping softly, a sound that pierced her soul. They fought to protect her, trying to shield her from this fate. Yet here she stood, a pawn in a brutal game, sold to pay debts that seemed to consume her family whole. A single tear slipped down her cheek, mingling with the dust of despair beneath her feet. Across the crowd, he appeared. Kale, the Alpha King of the Lycan realm. He loomed in the shadows, dark hair tousled, eyes like storm clouds, smoldering with an intensity that made Clara's heart skip. Strength radiated from him, a powerful aura that wrapped around her like a shroud. He was a presence, demanding notice, and in this dark place, he offered a flicker of something different. A chance, a possibility. 4 centuries he had lived, witnessing the brutality of humanity. Power played puppet master in his realm, and the strong devoured the weak. Kale stood tall, aware of the burdens tied to his crown and the disputes that darkened his kingdom. Yet something unfurled within him as he laid eyes on Clara. They connected in that heartbeat, 2 souls yearning for freedom in the chains of fate. She was strong, a fire waiting to be ignited. Then the auctioneer's voice sliced through the tension like a blade. Next up, this beautiful young woman. The words echoed, bringing the attention of the crowd back to Clara. Her heart thudded as if it were about to leap from her chest. Would today be the day her life turned upside down? Bids are open, starting at 5 gold pieces. The cacophony of voices rose, each bidder vying for control over her destiny. Clara felt herself waver, panic twisting in her gut. The fear of being sold to a shadowy figure, a fate worse than death, threatened to drown her heart. But through the chaos, he remained. Kale. Their eyes met again, and the connection surged between them, an electric current of recognition. This wasn't just a moment of desperation for her. It was a moment of realization for him. He sensed her spirit, her resilience, and the strength simmering just beneath her fragile exterior. Could he truly save her from this nightmare? Would he risk everything for a life untangled from greed and despair? Uncertainty slashed through him, but there was no time for hesitation. The crowd surged, excitement rippling like wildfire. But within that frenzy, Clara stood resolute for the first time. A yearning flickered to life in her chest, the possibility of hope. As the auction reached its peak, the ground trembled beneath them, heralding the impending collision of their fates. Would today mark the beginning of their shared journey, or unveil the cracks in their survival? The world was a tempest, and neither knew what would come next. What awaited them beyond the walls of their despair? Clara had lived a life defined by tragedy and loss, a once promising future locked in darkness. Her family had fallen from grace, wealth vanishing like smoke, leaving them to scrape through the shattered remnants of their past. They had owned a modest estate on the edge of their kingdom, laughter echoing between the walls filled with warmth and love, but debts piled high, shadowing their every step until the cruel hand of fate struck. It started with her father's business misfortune, a bad deal gone wrong that spiraled into chaos. Clara could still remember the day the creditors burst into their home, demanding payment with cold eyes and sharp words. "Your time's up. You've had your chances." Those words echoed in her mind, stealing the breath from her lungs. Panic had seized her mother, tears wetting her cheeks as they lost everything. Days blended into nights of frantic worry, whispers of doom hanging thick in the air. Eventually, the darkness became too heavy to carry. Her family fragmented, each member carrying a piece of desperation until it was Clara alone, captured to repay the substantial debts left behind. Her heart had shattered the day they took her. Their grasp had been unyielding, pulling her from the only life she'd ever known, dragging her into the brutal marketplace. Each day in the market wore away her spirit further. Clara had become a nameless face among the human cattle, paraded before unfeeling bidders. Each call of the auctioneer felt like a knife twisting in her gut. These men saw her as an object, a commodity to be bought and sold. The horror of it consumed her. Some days, she was just a quiet observer, pushing against the cracks that threatened to crush her existence. Other days, anger boiled inside her, fighting against the helplessness. Yet beneath that pain, something fierce had emerged. The flames of her spirit refused to dim. She told herself she would not allow despair to define her. She practiced resilience in secret, strengthening her mind and heart against the darkness that closed in. It was not always successful. Tears fell when she was alone, but the fight was far from over. Freedom was still a flame flickering in the recesses of her heart, a glimmer drawing her toward a future she desperately sought. Cale's life unfolded in stark contrast. As the Alpha King, his crown brought power, but also heavy burdens. 4 centuries of watching the world twist beneath the weight of cruelty had shaped him into an enigmatic ruler. He had once stood alongside warriors in battle, their loyalty fierce. But time made hunters of men out of all kinds, and many of his comrades were long gone. Loss haunted him in quiet moments. What had once filled him with pride now turned into a grim reminder of the sacrifices demanded by his reign. He had witnessed betrayals cut deep, shifting loyalties that left scars on his immortal heart. Cale had grown used to trusting no one, relying solely on his instincts, the same instincts that pulled him toward Clara now. In a realm where the line between humanity and the supernatural blurred, he felt the tug of political alliances with human kingdoms competing for attention. The looming threat of war grew, power struggles becoming the lifeblood of his existence, where each decision could tilt the balance. The news of rising tensions stirred unease among his subjects, fueling fears of betrayal and manipulation. Clara's presence ignited something long buried within him. The sight of her, so fragile yet so formidable, filled him with conflicting desires. He sensed her strength, the flicker of hope in her eyes frustrating the bonds of her captivity. She was everything he sought to protect. In a world filled with shadows, she was brightness, alive and desperate for liberation. As Cale stood at the edge of the crowd, the realization dawned. He was drawn to her not just as a ruler, but as a man. Someone who longed for connection and passion amidst the chaos. He felt the pull acutely, like gravity drawing him closer. If he didn't act now, he might lose the chance to change her fate, to pull her from the abyss where she languished. 5 gold pieces. The voice of a rival bidder snapped him from his thoughts, jolting into the present. Could he let this stranger take her? No. Not when he sensed the raw potential within Clara, the strength that was meant for more than this hellish existence. With a fierce determination swelling in his chest, Kale stepped forward. The crowd parted at his command, and he strode to the front, eyes locked on hers. An unshakable resolve burned within him. "I demand this woman," he declared, and the world around him faded, their fates entwined in a heart-pounding moment. What was next? What challenges awaited them? Would Kale find a way to rescue Clara from despair? And would Clara's fierce spirit survive the coming storm? He was ready to unlock whatever lay ahead. Would she dare to hope? The air crackled with tension as Kale's command hung over the crowd like a thunderclap, silencing all hesitation. Whispers erupted, confusion rippling through the onlookers. Clara's heart raced, each beat echoing like a war drum in her chest. Had he truly dared to claim her in this brutal marketplace? As the uneasiness settled, Kale's powerful form eclipsed the crowd, drawing every eye to him. He stood as the embodiment of authority, certainty radiating around him like a shield. The other bidders shifted nervously, their bravado dampening under the weight of his fierce gaze. 10 gold pieces, shouted a rival with a desperate gleam, attempting to challenge the king's claim. Kale's pulse quickened, fueled by a primal instinct. 15 gold pieces. This woman is not for sale to you. See, his voice reverberated through the air, sharp and commanding, silencing the dissenters around him. Kale felt a surge of fury rise within, igniting something dangerous. "You think a number can dictate her worth?" he growled, locking eyes with the challenger. "She is priceless." The crowd gasped, stirred by the audacity of his declaration. They had witnessed many auctions, but none saw the likes of this. A king confronting others for a common girl was unprecedented. Kale stood tall, determination propelling him forward. He was not simply securing a transaction, he was making a statement against the trade that dehumanized them. 20 gold pieces! The man shouted again, his tone laced with stubbornness. 50! Kale declared, urgency lacing his voice. Feeling the stakes rise, the murmurs of disbelief swept through the crowd. Such a sum was high, but it meant something more profound to him. It was a testament of resolve, not just to save Clara from imprisonment, but to declare a new beginning for them both. "Sold to the Lycan king!" the auctioneer exclaimed, the weight of the claim stark and final. Clara stumbled back, a whirlwind of emotions threatening to consume her. Panic mixed with disbelief. Kale had bought her. No more chains, no more endless nights of despair. As Kale approached, his imposing form enveloped her like a storm. He reached for her wrist, his touch igniting a spark that sent uncertainty racing through her veins. "Come," he commanded gently but firmly, like he was summoning her from her self-imposed shadows. "Your Majesty, Clara's voice trembled. "What will happen to me now?" "Listen," he murmured, his voice imbued with a warmth that cut through her fear. "You are not a possession. You are a choice." He stepped out of the chaos toward the exit, pulling her into the light, where darkness could no longer linger. Together, they emerged into the warm embrace of sunlight. The marketplace was alive with sound and movement, a stark contrast to the silence that had engulfed her moments before. Kale turned to her, excitement gleaming in his eyes. He understood. They would face the world together. "I know today has been horrifying," he continued, his tone steady. "But you have a future waiting for you. You don't have to live in despair anymore." Clara leaned back, processing his words, feeling the stirrings of an unfamiliar hope blossoming within her. "I don't understand. What kind of future?" "I will protect you," he replied, his gaze unwavering. "You will find a path where you can pursue your own desires. This is your chance to reclaim your life." "Why me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, heart thundering. "Because I see you," he declared, passion igniting in his voice. "You possess resilience, a spirit that hasn't been dimmed. Others see a commodity. I see strength, fire, potential. His words washed over her, igniting something deep within, the possibility of a life more than mere survival. She felt discrepancies in her heart, but behind that fear, a flicker of longing ignited. "What's your plan?" Clara inquired, intrigued despite herself. "Come with me to Castle Valoran," he suggested, eyes shining with anticipation. "We will confront the darkness together. I will not leave your side." The lure of adventure stirred something inside her, battling against the remnants of doubt. Could she really embrace the future he was offering? She would no longer be defined by her past misery. She could choose to fight alongside him. "Let's go," she exhaled, courage tinged with trepidation. The declaration felt more monumental than she could comprehend. Cale smiled, gratitude in his eyes. And together they stepped confidently into a future filled with uncertainties and new beginnings. As they walked, Clara felt the warmth of possibility envelop her. What awaited them at Castle Valoran? Would they summon the strength to navigate the shadows and emerge into the light together? The journey ahead was fraught with challenges, but for the first time in a long while, she felt alive, tethered to a new purpose, ready to take on whatever lay before them. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden glow over the path leading to Castle Valoran, a majestic fortress on the horizon. Cale and Clara approached, her heart a mix of anticipation and anxiety. The castle loomed before her, beautiful yet intimidating, an imposing structure filled with stories of power struggles and untold secrets. As they walked, Cale's presence was a steady anchor. She observed the guards nodding respectfully at him, their eyes widening when they recognized her at his side. Each glance felt like a challenge to her worth, but Cale brushed it aside with confidence. "Don't worry. You'll be safe here," he assured her, the promise soothing her turbulent thoughts. Once inside the castle, the atmosphere shifted. The air felt charged with history. Ornate tapestries lining the grand halls told tales of conquest and legacy. Clara marveled at the deep, rich colors but, at the same time, felt acutely out of place. She could sense judgment lurking beneath the surface of the grand halls. Hers was not a story of nobility, it was one tainted by hardship. Cale led her deeper into the castle until they reached an enormous wooden door. "My chambers are just through here," he said, pushing it open to reveal a beautifully decorated room. It felt intimate yet expansive, reflecting his complex character. The walls were adorned with paintings, and one in particular, a fierce wolf, caught her eye. The creature's eyes glimmered with a spirit she felt echoed in Cale. "That's my family crest," he explained, stepping beside her. "Wolves symbolize loyalty and courage, just like you." She couldn't help but smile. "You really see me." "I see potential," he replied, sincerity shimmering in his gaze. However, just as excitement surged, Cale's brows furrowed, shifting to something more serious. "We need to discuss our next steps," he instructed, his tone growing stern. "The council wants to meet you. They will test our alliance." Clara's stomach twisted. "What will they want from me?" "Your strength, not just in battle but in words. I need you at my side where they can see who you truly are," he said. "You will be my ally in this game of politics." "But what if I fail?" she whispered, fear creeping back. "You won't," he promised. "You've already survived where others didn't. It's time to show them your fire." Days turned into a blur of preparation. Under Cale's guidance, Clara began to learn the intricacies of court life, each moment instilling a mix of fear and pride. She witnessed the power dynamics at play and understood the delicacy of words, how they could elevate or destroy. Training for the upcoming council meeting, Cale directed her, practicing different scenarios with sharpened focus. "Speak from your heart," he encouraged, adjusting her stance. "You're not just my mate, you're a force to be reckoned with." As they spent time together, Clara found herself growing stronger, although lingering doubts gnawed at her. Despite the beauty around her, shadows lurked everywhere, especially when whispers of rival kingdoms reached her ears. Tension in the castle thickened, as if the walls themselves could sense the impending storms. One evening, after an exhausting day of training, Clara overheard hushed voices in the hallway. Pushing the door cracked open, she strained to hear. "The council won't allow a mere servant to stand equal with the king," one voice spat, filled with disdain. The other murmured agreement, planting seeds of doubt in Clara's heart. Cale entered just as she stepped back, heart racing, unable to shake the words. "What's wrong?" he asked, reading her expression. "Just overheard some murmurs," she replied cautiously. "They don't think I belong here, Cale." He stepped closer, a fire igniting in his eyes. "What matters is that I chose you. They'll see that your strength surpasses their prejudices." "But what if they don't?" she pressed, anxiety surging. "What if I can't be the ally you need?" Cale's hand gripped her shoulder, grounding her. "You already are. Trust yourself, Clara. Together, we will confront whatever they throw at us." As the days passed, preparations intensified. Clara's resolve solidified, each moment fueling her desire to stand strong at Cale's side. She practiced her speeches diligently, the council members' faces forming in her mind as she argued her case. She would not be dismissed as lesser. The fateful day arrived, tension electric in the air. She walked beside Cale, heart hammering in rhythm with the echo of their hurried steps. The council chamber door loomed ahead, and Clara took a deep breath. "I'm ready," she whispered. Cale glanced at her, determination in his features. "Just remember, you aren't alone. Speak your truth, and they'll have no choice but to listen." Inside, faces turned toward them, council members with sharp eyes glittering with skepticism and curiosity. Cale introduced her, and Clara felt the weight of countless gazes resting on her. A member scoffed. "What does a servant have to offer?" His words sliced the air, but Clara stood tall. "I have endured terrible hardships far beyond what any court may know," she began, voice steady even as her heart raced. "Those that survive the darkest nights emerge shining. I am more than what I was." The room fell silent, eyes flickering with surprise. Cale nodded ever so slightly, bolstering her confidence. Clara pressed on, explaining her vision for Valoran, what it meant to rise together and share in the struggle. The gravity of her words cascaded through the chamber, shifting the atmosphere. She could feel skepticism wane, curiosity taking its place. They were leaning in. Perhaps, just perhaps, she would find acceptance among them. When she finished, the room erupted in murmurs, the council debating among themselves. Cale's gaze locked onto hers, unmarred by doubt. "You did it," he affirmed, a soft pride glimmering in his eyes. As the murmurs turned to a cacophony, Clara's heart soared. She had stepped into the light, no longer trapped in shadow. With Cale by her side, they faced the darkness together, ready to carve out a future where they could both thrive. The road ahead was still fraught with uncertainty, but for the first time in a long time, Clara felt alive, a warrior in her own right. Together, they would navigate the treacherous waters of Valoran and emerge stronger, embodying the very spirit of the wolf. The council chamber pulsed with energy, debates flying thick and fast. Voices rose and fell like the waves of a stormy sea, each member vying for power and influence. Clara's heart raced, anticipation and dread coiling in her stomach as she stood next to Cale, absorbing the chaos. "Cale, do you really think they'll accept me?" she whispered, anxiety creeping back with each wave of noise. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. "You've already made an impact, Clara. Trust your voice. You belong here." The cacophony within the chamber grew sharper, with grainy divides forming in the council. "She's nothing but a servant. What could she possibly understand about ruling? One elder barked, gesturing dismissively toward Clara. And just like that, the atmosphere shifted. Clara felt the weight of their scorn pressing against her chest. "Those who rise from despair know the value of hope too well," she called out, her voice ringing clear. "I am not what I was, a victim. I'm a survivor." Somewhere amidst the frenzy, she caught a glimmer in the eyes of a few council members, their faces slowly moving from skepticism to something resembling intrigue. The challenge was contagious, and Clara felt blood pumping through her veins, igniting a new fire. "Enough!" Kale's voice rang out, echoing through the chamber, demanding attention. "Clara is my ally, and I will not have her dismissed just because of her origins. You would be wise to listen to her." A heavy silence settled as the members paused to consider the king's words. Kale stood resolute, unwavering against the encroaching shadows. "What have you accomplished lately that deepens our realm?" he pressed, a challenge sparking in his eyes. One of the elder members responded, frustration etched deep. "We find ourselves constantly besieged by rival kingdoms. What can she do to help?" "Unite us," Clara declared, stepping forward, heart pounding as all eyes fell upon her. "I've witnessed the turmoil that divides us. I can bridge the gap between suffering and hope." "By what means?" another voice interjected, sharp and probing. "By telling our stories. By reminding each other that we are not just rulers or subjects. We share a humanity that must be nurtured." Clara's hands trembled, adrenaline surging through her. "Nothing can tear us apart if we stand together." With each word, she felt herself shift, reclaiming power from those who sought to diminish her. Murmurs inside the chamber transformed from doubt to intrigue, and she pressed on, weaving the fabric of her vision into the fabric of their reality. But doubts lingered. "You are asking for a lot, child," a grizzled council member replied, skepticism still biting. "What if your plan fails? What if it leads us to ruin?" "Then we would face the consequences together," Clara replied, unflinching. "What is the alternative? Living in fear? Watching our people perish? We can do better." As silence enveloped the chamber, Clara's heart raced, hoping she had struck a chord. She felt Kale's presence beside her, his pride palpable, a steady anchor amidst the storm. After what felt like an eternity, a council member slowly spoke. Perhaps we need a new approach. What would your plan entail?" "I envision gatherings, town halls in every corner of Valoran, an opportunity for our people to express their fears and hopes," Clara proposed, her voice steady. "A way for us to listen. Together, we can find solutions that honor every life in this kingdom." A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembly. It was hopeful. Change might be on the horizon, but still, she sensed discontent brewing beneath the surface. Fear gripped her heart. The next question could turn the tides. "Who is to say you alone can lead this?" a voice challenged, fierce and relentless. "I will not stand alone. I stand with Kale, and you must all stand with us," Clara answered, determination sparking in her eyes. "This is about unity. I will not let my past define my future." The atmosphere shifted. Where once there had been animosity, now curiosity and admiration bubbled beneath the surface. A few council members began leaning toward one another, whispers of agreement igniting the hope in Clara's chest. Yet, she knew the battle wasn't over. Kale stepped forward, culminating the tense moment. "I will support Clara's initiative. If we're to face our enemies outside, we must first unite our people within. Every voice matters." One elder raised an eyebrow. "And what if this hope leads us down a path of false security?" "Then I will take full responsibility," Kale declared firmly. "But we owe it to our people to try. We cannot allow fear to govern us any longer. To survive, we must become a family." Clara felt warmth flood her at his declaration. A family. Could it be possible? Slowly, a ripple of approval spread through the chamber, mending even the deepest of divides. "Let us see this plan unfold," another council member finally said, her tone changing. "But be wary of the wolves lurking beyond our borders, for they thirst for conflict." "I know the risks," Cale replied, resolve knitting in his features. "We will be vigilant. Our unity will be our strength." As the murmurs settled into a begrudging acceptance, Clara exhaled a breath she didn't know she was holding. Though the road ahead would be fraught with obstacles, together they had opened a door, one that shed light into dark corners, the beginning of their shared journey. The council finally dispersed, conversations buzzing with renewed energy. Cale turned to Clara as the chamber emptied. "You did it, Clara. I knew you had it in you." "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied, her heart racing from the exhilarating victory. But even in this moment of triumph, shadows loomed. Whispers of rival factions stirred unease in the castle corridors, and Clara sensed the tides shifting once more. "What's next?" she whispered, concern clouding her thoughts. Cale's gaze hardened. "Next, we prepare for the storm. Rivals won't take our unity lightly. We must solidify our strengths and protect what we're building. Together." Together. The word resonated between them, an unyielding pact. Hand in hand, they would face whatever came lurking in the dark. The battle for Valoran's future had only just begun, and with the spirit of the wolf guiding them, they were ready to carve out a legacy against the odds. Weeks turned into a whirlwind of preparation as Clara and Cale organized town halls across Valoran, striving to build unity among their people. The excitement in the air was infectious, yet the underlying tension remained palpable. Rival factions were still lurking, keen to snuff out the light of their newfound hope. One starlit evening, Clara and Cale stood on the balcony overlooking the bustling castle grounds, where townsfolk gathered in anticipation of the next town hall. The sun dipped low in the horizon, casting shadows that threatened to creep back into their lives. "Cale," Clara said, her voice barely above a whisper, "what if they attack before we're ready?" Cale's expression darkened. "Then we'll have to be swift. We need to strengthen our defenses and send a clear message." "A message?" she asked, curiosity and trepidation swirling within her. "Exactly. I want to organize a public ceremony, a declaration of our commitment as a united front," he declared, the determination in his voice igniting a mix of fear and excitement in Clara. "Like a marriage proposal?" she asked, her heart racing at the thought. "Yes, a declaration between a king and his mate, demonstrating our bond and resolve." The weight of his words pressed onto her like a heavy cloak, yet the idea stirred something deep inside her. Clara felt a surge of possibility. "Then let's do it. Let's show them we will not be broken." As the day of the ceremony approached, the castle bustled with activity. Flags flaunting the spirit of the wolf hung proudly, and townsfolk filled the square below, buzzing with anticipation. Despite the preparations, Clara sensed the tension coiling around them like a predator waiting to strike. On the day of the ceremony, they stood side by side, a powerful image of unity. Cale was dressed in royal regalia, and Clara wore a flowing gown that shimmered with resolve. As they stepped out to face the gathered crowd, Cale raised his voice to capture their attention. "People of Valoran, today we stand together." Feedback of cheers rippled through the audience, filling Clara's heart with warmth. The fear that had gripped them slowly began to dissolve as Cale spoke with charisma and confidence. "Together we will confront any enemy who dares to challenge us. Together, we will forge a brighter future." When the moment came, Cale turned to Clara, eyes ablaze with intensity. "Clara, you are more than my mate. You are a warrior for our people. Will you stand by my side as my queen?" The crowd held its breath. The gravity of his question filled the air, heavy with anticipation. This was it. Her moment to affirm their bond before the kingdom. "Yes!" Clara's voice rang out, strong and clear. "I choose you, Kale. Together we shall protect our home." The crowd erupted into joyous cheers, celebrating their union with fervor, the hope beneath their feet transforming into a powerful current of belief. As the celebration deepened, Clara felt the unease in her gut return, the shadows of uncertainty lingering just beyond their joyous horizon. She turned to Kale, a worry tugging at her heart. What if our enemies try to undermine us now? Kale's gaze hardened. They will, and that's why we need to stay vigilant. We're a target now, but we won't back down. Our unity is our weapon. That night, as silence fell over Valoran, Clara and Kale sat together on the balcony, reflecting on the day's events. The stars twinkled like distant beacons of hope, and she felt the weight of their shared goals pressing into her heart. "If we can face this storm together," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "there's nothing that can stop us." Kale nodded, determination etched in his face. Together is the key. We will build a legacy of strength and resilience. No matter what darkness threatens us, we'll shine brighter. In their shared silence, a bond stronger than any they had known blossomed once more, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. They were ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead, standing as one, the spirit of the wolf guiding them toward a bright future. If you enjoyed the story of Clara and Kale, their journey from fear to unity, subscribe for more epic Lycan King romances. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. Remember, together we are unbreakable. Thank you for listening.